The capital elite heir announced his return was to take revenge on me. He smirked provocatively. 5 years ago, you played me like a fool. Now that I've got you in my grasp, guess how I'm going to make you suffer. But later, he began to possess me in his own way. When I smile at him, he happily spends money on me. When I'm upset, he coldly spends money on me. Apart from making me cry helplessly in the bedroom, on the dining table, and on the stairs, it doesn't look like revenge at all. When he abandoned his company meeting to rush to my defense, I finally couldn't help but ask, "Are you really taking revenge on me?" The young heir flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Shut up, I have my own rhythm of revenge." That night, he removed his tie, wrapping it around my wrists methodically while saying, "Since you're so eager to suffer, I'll be a bit more excessive tonight." Ding! This novel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. I never imagined meeting Evan Webb again in such circumstances. In the venture capital fund's headquarters boardroom, surrounded by glass walls on the 60th floor, reflecting the bustling city below, I held my business plan, silently rehearsing the key points. Orange and fruit brasserie seeking investment opportunity. This was my third meeting with investors this month, and my last chance. The glass door of the boardroom opened. I immediately put on my practiced smile. "Hello, I'm Jessica Burton. Here's my business plan." The next moment, I looked up at the lead investor and suddenly lost my voice. Against the light, a tall figure appeared at the door. The noise around me gradually faded away, as I saw him again across the crowd in 5 years of time. Among the middle-aged executives, Evan stood out strikingly handsome. His muscular frame was concealed beneath a bespoke suit. Broad shoulders tapering to a narrow waist, long legs stepping in unhurriedly. His features were sharp and defined, carrying the air of authority, cold and commanding. Evan raised an eyebrow, looking directly at me, and said deliberately, "Jessica, it's been a long time. How did you end up in such a sorry state?" I turned pale, staring at him, barely able to stand. Memories from 5 years ago came rushing back like a howling wind, sweeping me back to that summer of extreme joy and ultimate pain. My eyes, once blind from high fever, began to sting unbearably, tears threatening to fall. Evan remained expressionless. He adjusted his cuff, his black suit jacket brushing past me as he took the chairman's seat. The boardroom fell silent enough to hear a pin drop. The investment manager glanced around nervously, swallowing hard before attempting to ease the tension. "Miss Burton, please present your business plan to Mr. Webb for evaluation." With trembling hands, I handed him the plan. Evan's fingertips inadvertently brushed against mine. My spine tingled, every nerve ending seemingly concentrated at my fingertips. He maintained a blank expression while turning through the pages. "What advantages do you have that make you worth my investment?" I steadied myself and said quietly, "I graduated from Le Cordon Bleu in France. I can prepare authentic French cuisine." "Ah, France," Evan said with a mirthless smile, "where you disappeared to without a word." The other entrepreneurs sensed the drama unfolding and shrank back, silent as mice. "I see your restaurant has been open for 3 months. And you're seeking external funding for even a £10 million investment." He folded his arms, his words dripping with sarcasm, each one sharp as thorns piercing my heart. "What happened? After cunningly getting into my bed for the sake of your childhood sweetheart. Now that he's successful, he's forgotten his benefactor won't even fund a small restaurant for you?" It felt like a needle piercing my heart. With a silent pop, blood seemed to well up from my chest. My heart sank slowly, accompanied by a dull ache. I blinked back tears at the corners of my eyes and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry about what happened back then. I first met Evan when I was 20. My childhood friend, Marvin, held my hands earnestly and pleaded, 'Could you help me get the coastal development permit from Evan Webb?' When I was little, a high fever caused temporary blindness. My parents, who favored boys over girls, sold me to traffickers. During those dark days, a boy took the beatings from the traffickers for me. He carried me, blind and helpless, step by step out of the valley. After the rescue, Marvin claimed he was the one who saved me. As repayment, I became his loyal follower for 10 years. Until he made this outrageous request. My hands clenched into fists, then relaxed, repeatedly, until my palms turned white from my nails. Finally, I said slowly, "This is the last time. After this, we're even." Looking back now, at 20, I'd never dated anyone. My attempts to seduce Evan were painfully amateur. But he took the bait anyway. I walked into the elective class and approached Evan. "Is this seat taken?" A classmate next to him tried to stop me. "Hey, no one's allowed to sit next to him." Evan lifted his eyelids and glanced at me. His eyes were beautiful, with long, straight lashes. When he looked at people, it always felt like being studied by an intense artist. After a moment, he lowered his eyes and moved his books. "You can sit." I heard collective gasps around us. The next day, I sat beside him again. On the third day, I brought him water at the basketball court. On the 10th day, I bought him breakfast. On the 20th day, it took me a month to win Evan over. I became his first and only girlfriend. I once teased him, "You were so easy to pursue. How come no other girl managed it before?" Evan laughed, annoyed. He pinched my cheek and said fiercely, "Because it was you. Others never even had a chance to get close." At our most romantic moment, in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of his seaside villa, Evan held me as his gentle kisses fell on my ear. "Jessica, once we're of legal age, let's get married." Unfortunately, we never made it to that day. I got what Marvin wanted and didn't hesitate to break up, change my number, and leave for France. Evan waited outside my house for 3 days and nights, like a statue, wanting to hear my explanation. But I had already fled to France, hiding like an ostrich, too afraid to even see him one last time. Still, the rumors reached my ears. "Jessica's quite skilled, isn't she?" Evan was so proud, yet she played him like a fiddle. I heard Evan went nearly mad looking for her, turned the whole capital upside down. She just up and left, leaving the young master to become the laughingstock of the capital. 5 years have passed now. What I tried to avoid has resurfaced. Debts must be paid eventually. Evan is coming to settle accounts with me. The tension in the conference room was palpable. The atmosphere was heavy, like a storm brewing. Evan's expression changed several times before he finally let out a mocking laugh. "Too late. 5 years ago, you treated me like a dog with your lies. And now you dare to show up in front of me." He raised an eyebrow. "I must admire your courage." He whispered something to the investment manager, who looked surprised, nodded, and left the conference room. 15 minutes later, he returned with 2 glasses, placing them on the conference table. Each glass was filled to the brim with clear liquid. Evan rapped his knuckles on the table and said with deliberate slowness, "One of these glasses contains water, the other contains spiritus. Spiritus, known as the water of life, with 96% alcohol content, is the strongest spirit in the world." Evan smiled wickedly. "This is your last chance. After me, no investment firm will ever extend an olive branch to your restaurant. Choose 1 glass and drink it all, then I'll invest. 50-50 chance. Do you dare to take the gamble?" Everyone exchanged worried glances, barely breathing. The young assistant who came with me widened her eyes, almost in tears, tugging at my sleeve and frantically signing. "You can't drink it. Even if we lose the investment and end up homeless after being sacked, you mustn't drink. You're a chef, your taste buds are everything. This could kill you." Such high-proof alcohol would destroy taste receptors. At worst, leaving one unable to taste anything ever again. Never able to be an excellent chef again. I clenched my fists, feeling sharp pain in my chest, as if countless fine needles were piercing deep into my heart with every beat. This was Evan's challenge, and his revenge. I pressed down on my aching heart, feeling strangely resigned. Evan sneered. "Jessica, are you going to beg me?" I tried to smile, but found even the small gesture failed, leaving me with a frozen, awkward expression. Would it make any difference? No. I let out a self-deprecating laugh, studying the 2 glasses. They were too far to see the liquid clearly or detect any smell. I could only gamble. I closed my eyes briefly and pointed to one. The left one. As soon as I picked it up, I felt relief. It was water. I brought the glass to my lips and slowly drank it all. Evan seemed somewhat disappointed. Lucky you. He snapped his fingers, and the financial director stepped forward. Mr. Webb, your instructions? Draft an investment contract, 3 installments, £20 million each. £60 million. I had only hoped for $10 million in investment. But it was now 6 times that enough to weather this crisis. My young assistant's face lit up, unable to contain her joy. Evan continued. Send an accountant to monitor cash flow. Have marketing assess operational risks and develop a marketing strategy. He rubbed his temples. Such a small investment hardly warranted my presence. If the investment department remains this idle, I'll send you all to feed penguins in Antarctica, he said, as the investment manager laughed nervously. Everything seemed settled thanks to my lucky choice. But I alone stood staring at the 2 glasses. Suddenly stepping forward and, to everyone's astonishment, picking up the remaining glass and drinking it in one go. The staff stared at me in disbelief. The young assistant rushed to my side, nearly in tears, trying to support me. I calmly waved her away. Turning to Evan, I showed him the empty glass turned upside down and said numbly, "This one was also water." Both drinks Evan had prepared for me were just water. He never intended to make me drink strong alcohol or ruin my career. Was he getting revenge on me? Evan suddenly stepped closer. His gaze traveled from my eyes down to my lips, his Adam's apple bobbing as he said, "Exposing my weakness in public, Surrounded by his fresh, crisp woody cologne, I couldn't help but shiver. Blocking others' view. He placed his large hand gently on my stomach, speaking so only I could hear. Still haven't learned after all these years? Your waist is still so slim. Don't you know? After 2 glasses of water, your belly is already swollen. Memories from years ago came flooding back like the damp sea breeze. In the beach house, I was kneeling by the floor-to-ceiling window. My hands pressed helplessly against the glass, Evan's heavy breathing in my ear. He grabbed my hand, forcing it to my lower abdomen. His voice crossed 5 years of time, merging with the man before me now. Poor thing, your belly's all swollen. Feel it yourself. Can you feel it? With just this much tolerance, you dare to challenge me? I froze, my face instantly turning crimson. Evan stepped back, his expression calm and composed, looking as if he hadn't just said those words. He was quite devious. Just like back then, he would make outrageous demands that I couldn't refuse yet felt too embarrassed to accept. He would always use a persuasive tone, coaxing and tricking me into giving him the affirmative answer he wanted, satisfying his need for control. Baby, is that okay? Miss Burton, is that okay? Suddenly snapping back to reality in the meeting room. I shivered from the air conditioning. What? Evan twirled his fountain pen. For investment purposes. I'd like you to bring your dishes to Web Group tomorrow noon for a tasting. Even if £60 million go to waste, it should make a splash. I want to test Miss Burton's culinary skills myself. Is that acceptable? I stammered. Yes. Evan uncapped his pen and signed his name at the bottom of the contract, saying coolly, "Then I expect to see you here at the same time tomorrow." But I didn't show up on time the next day. Because an unexpected visitor came to the restaurant. My childhood friend, Marvin Ward, had come looking for me. The Orange and Fruit Brasserie sits in the heart of the city, with its spotless windows and romantic ambience. Warm lighting cascades down from above, while the air is filled with the aroma of cream and spices. Marvin strides into the restaurant with a casual smile. "Jessica, why didn't you tell me you're back from abroad? I heard you met Evan yesterday. I'm a bit short on cash lately. Shall we partner up for another scheme?" A wave of nausea churns in my chest. I close my eyes briefly and reply coldly. Greed knows no bounds. You'd do better focusing your energy on honest work. The smile gradually fades from Marvin's face. Spare me your self-righteous nonsense. You think you're so proper? Have you told Evan about your condition? Word by word, he recites my medical report. Patient Jessica Burton, suffering from dependent personality disorder due to childhood trauma. Exhibits feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness towards surroundings. Craves control and domination, seeks extreme belonging and security. His hand rests on my shoulder, sliding down lewdly. If it's security you want, I can give you that too, I never noticed how pretty you are before. Such a shame Evan got to taste this first. I swiftly pivot sideways, my left hand gripping his wrist. As I execute a perfect shoulder throw with my core strength, Marvin hits the ground like a sack of potatoes with a loud thud, his head smacking against the floor. I step forward, grab his collar, and drive my fist into his face without hesitation. Jessica, stop, ack. It hurts. Marvin shrieks hoarsely until his face is bruised and swollen before I finally stop. Standing up, I shake the blood drops from my knuckles expressionlessly. You think I survived all those years abroad alone by chance? After being trafficked as a child, I've kept myself on edge, dividing my time between studies and training at boxing gyms. Muay Thai, Judo, MMA, I excel at them all. Being a chef requires strength for handling pans too. Though my psyche remains scarred, my body is incredibly strong. I grab his collar again, staring into his eyes. What's between Evan and me is none of your business to judge. My relationship with him has nothing to do with you. It's because what? A deep, magnetic voice sounds from behind. Evan approaches from behind me, in a pristine suit with matching tie clip and cufflinks. He looks like he's rushed from an important meeting. I freeze for a second, instinctively releasing Marvin and hiding my bloodied fist behind my back. What are you doing here? Someone kept me waiting, so I had to come check. His gaze sweeps over me first, as if ensuring I'm unharmed. Then it falls on Marvin lying on the floor. What's this? Mr. Ward hasn't received his court summons and restraining order yet? Still out and about? Court summons? Evan gives a casual glance at Marvin's bruised face and says nonchalantly, fraud charges. Life sentence, fines, and asset seizure. Seems he got his punishment before prison though. Evan waves his hand, and security immediately steps forward to remove the groaning Marvin. Only Evan and I remain in the restaurant. A tense silence hangs between us. I never imagined that after everything, I'd be standing face to face with Evan like this. I peek up through my lashes, trying to gauge his expression, only to find him already studying me, his expression unreadable. Caught looking, I blush and quickly lower my gaze. Evan remarks cryptically, when I touch you, you blush. When he touches you, he gets beaten black and blue. Quite the double standard, isn't it? My heart skips a beat, and my face grows even redder. Evan laughs. His eyebrows arch playfully. I think I've been using the wrong approach. This venture needs an additional clause. He says something too quietly for me to hear. So I lean in closer. What? The next moment, there's a click. A silver handcuff closes around my wrist. My mind went blank for a moment. Where did you get those handcuffs? Just borrowed them from the security guard. Evan smirked mischievously. Jessica, you didn't really think I was some kind of saint, did you? He said deliberately. I was too proper before, thinking I should be gentlemanly first. Now I realize the old romance novels had it right, taking what you want by force works better. Because starting today, I'm going to get my revenge by keeping you locked up at home. Restricting your movements, keeping you under my watch. Making you cook for me like my little chef. Of course, there are other duties too. Like sometimes, you'll need to wear an apron. His voice dropped lower, turning husky with suggestion. Just the apron. As compensation, I'll increase investment, build staff accommodation, and cancel the related performance reviews. He gripped my wrist, making the handcuff chain rattle, and said with mock politeness, "Do you agree?" I shuddered. His warm breath brushed against my ear, making half my body go numb. I tried to pull my wrist from his grip but couldn't move an inch. Could only stare at him with wide eyes. "Of course not," he responded promptly. "Fine then." I thought he'd given up. But he just shrugged, saying with feigned regret, "Then I'll have to withhold the investment, enforce strict performance reviews." and keep you locked up to take what I want, without even the apron. I was dumbfounded. Is this really your idea of revenge? Evan's eyes narrowed dangerously. Don't worry about it, I have my own rhythm for revenge. His calloused fingers slowly caressed my wrist, deliberately targeting where my skin was thinnest, pressing against my pulse as he smiled wickedly. So, do you agree, or not? A cool breeze wafted through the window between Evan and me, carrying the sweet scent of cream from the restaurant. My thoughts were racing as my fingers unconsciously fidgeted with the hem of my dress. After countless thoughts colliding in my mind, I finally let out a slow breath. Follow me. I led Evan to the back kitchen, took out 2 wine glasses, and filled them with water. Then I brought out a sugar bowl. My voice was soft, like a gentle feather falling on the quiet table. Let me make a bet with you two. One of these glasses has sugar in it, the other is just water. You need to choose one and take a sip. I took a deep breath, as if gathering strength for what I was about to say. My heart was pounding in my chest as I mustered the courage to look up at him. If you can pick the sweetened one, I'll agree. This time, it was Evan's turn to raise his eyebrow in surprise. He leaned back slightly against the counter, and without much thought, chose the glass on the left. His thin lips had barely touched the glass when he smiled. It's sweet. Before I could finish, Evan picked up the other glass, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Tell me, what do you think this one tastes like? I immediately reached out to grab the glass. You're only supposed to drink one. All right, Evan replied smoothly. He dipped 2 of his long fingers into the glass, wetting them. Then, he traced my lips, parting them gently, and playfully touched my tongue. Why don't you taste it for me? It was sweet. The other glass was sweet too. As the overwhelmingly sweet taste spread across my tongue, I pressed my lips together and whispered, "It has no taste." Evan's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze sharp like a predator before the hunt. Oh, really? His eyes wandered unhurriedly over me. The intensity of his gaze made me tremble involuntarily, and only then did he smile with composed confidence. Let me verify that. He suddenly leaned forward and captured my lips with his. It felt just like our kisses 5 years ago, when our love was at its deepest. Possessive, passionate, and utterly merciless. Perhaps even more intense than back then. He lifted me onto the desk, his strong arms planted firmly on either side of me, stealing my breath away. The kiss left me dizzy, and I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck, clutching his toned back. Each kiss grew deeper, more intense. Until crash! The glass of sweetened water shattered on the floor. I caught my breath softly and opened my eyes. My tear-dampened lashes clung to my lower lids, my lips were flushed, and my eyes misty with emotion. Evan's fingertips brushed across my lips as he chuckled huskily. Little liar, you taste just as sweet. I could only respond with heavy breaths. Grabbing his tie, I bit his lip fiercely. Evan's mansion sat in the heart of the city. In this prime real estate area, he'd built a private garden, creating a peaceful haven amid the bustle. The Cullinan parked at the entrance. As Evan hoisted me over his shoulder and slammed the door shut, he couldn't wait a second longer, kissing me while loosening his tie with one hand. From the entrance hall to the dining table, from the stairs to the bedroom, Evan carried me slowly upstairs. The gravity made it unbearable. I couldn't take it anymore and bit his shoulder, whimpering, put me down." Evan's deep laugh rumbled through his chest. "Just 10 more steps." He nibbled my ear, his low breath tickling my earlobe. "Baby, you're stronger than this." Finally, I found myself lying on his bedroom bed. I was at my limit, tears streaming down my face as I crawled forward on my knees. No, ugh. I barely moved 2 steps before he grabbed my ankle and pulled me back. For hours later, I stopped trying to escape, because I was crying too hard to speak a single word. Evan and I spent 3 days holed up in his mansion. On the 4th day, Evan finally seemed somewhat satisfied. Or perhaps he took pity on me after seeing me cry so pitifully, and at last let me leave the bed. Evan's mansion was enormous, complete with a games room, home theater, study, and a vast swimming pool in the basement. But what caught my attention most was the kitchen. Looking at the professional-grade kitchen that rivaled those in restaurants, I couldn't resist the urge to cook. "Shall I make lunch?" Evan gestured for me to go ahead. I prepared classic French cuisine: duck confit, mussel pot, sourdough bread, and a French dessert. Evan took a bite, and I watched him expectantly. "How is it?" Evan calmly replied. "Good enough that I might forgive you a bit for leaving me for 5 years to study at Le Cordon Bleu." I grinned, showing my dimples. On the 5th day, I made lobster mac and cheese. Though somehow, while eating, I ended up back in bed with him. On the 6th day, I prepared a dry-aged ribeye steak. Evan casually talked about his entrepreneurial experiences abroad, while I shared stories about my culinary training in France. These were the 5 years we knew nothing about in each other's lives. The ice between us gradually melted, reminiscent of our university dating days. Or perhaps even more intimate. He would suddenly look at me, his gaze deep and mysterious, then lean in for a kiss. And then I would randomly find myself with fewer clothes on, or sometimes more. That day, I made spaghetti carbonara and seared tuna steak for lunch. With the carb-heavy meal and having stayed up late the night before researching new recipes, I dozed off after lunch. When I woke up, the warm afternoon sun was shining on my face. I had somehow been moved to the soft sofa, covered with an expensive black suit jacket. I fingered the edge of the jacket, lost in thought for a long while. I suffer from severe insomnia. I often suddenly fall into nightmares about being kidnapped as a child, then wake up in cold sweats, unable to sleep all night. My therapist told me, "Jessica, you're depressed, anxious, sensitive, and starved for love. You feel nothing truly belongs to you, and you don't believe anything ever will. You don't believe anyone will love you unconditionally. Your life lacks an anchor. So you're always floating in the air, like a kite. Always afraid of taking a wrong step and shattering. You want someone to tether you, hold you, control you, become your life's anchor." And I suddenly realized, during this time being confined in Evan's mansion, it had been the most peaceful and serene moment of my life. I no longer had insomnia at night, and even fell into unconscious afternoon naps. Slowly, very slowly, I lowered my head and inhaled the scent of the suit jacket covering me. The subtle, pleasant woody fragrance enveloped me, like a small pebble dropping into the lake of my heart with a plop. I couldn't help but smile secretly. The next moment, I heard his secretary's voice from the study next door. "Mr. Webb, your mother said she and your father are going traveling. And taking the young miss with them." Evan replied lazily. "That's fine, I've got someone at home now anyway. They can look after my daughter for a couple of days." It struck me like a bolt of lightning. Evan's daughter? Had Evan actually gotten married and had a child? My fingers clutching my suit jacket grew stiff, and I felt the blood in my entire body turn cold. Yes, we had been apart for 5 years. I thought we could return to the way things were before. But I forgot to ask if he had started a new relationship during these 5 years. If he had, already married. The safety line holding me snapped with a sharp crack. My most secret, most unutterable feelings came crashing over me like a tidal wave. "Jessica Burton, what on earth are you doing? Becoming the mistress of a married man?" The guilt nearly crushed me. My heart felt like it had been stabbed with a sharp blade, twisting mercilessly. Every breath was searing pain. With a loud thud, I slowly stood up, my legs so weak that I bumped into the table leg. Hearing the noise, Evan quickly opened the door. "Jessica, what's wrong?" My appearance seemed to frighten him, his voice trembling. "Babe, why are you crying so hard? Did you hurt yourself? Where's the doctor? We need a doctor here." "No need." I pushed him away and stood up, limping. I blinked back the tears in my eyes. "Evan, if you're married, please respect your wife and child." I clenched my fists, my nails turning white against my palms. Try as I might to hold back, a sob still escaped. "And please, respect me too. Don't make me become that kind of mistress." Tears fell one by one onto the back of my hand. I couldn't bear to look at him as I walked towards the door. Evan suddenly called out loudly, "Wilson!" "What's my daughter's name?" The secretary jumped, answering reflexively. Snowy! Just when I thought my heart couldn't hurt anymore, that name stabbed me again. She must have been born in autumn. How old is she? Wilson's voice boomed, 5 years old. My head spun, and I nearly lost my balance. Could he have had a daughter right after we separated? Evan glanced at my expression and spoke even faster. I mean, what is she? Huh? Wilson was confused for a few seconds. She's just a stray cat. Evan let out a heavy breath. Right, I almost forgot. Seeing the situation, Wilson quickly made himself scarce. Evan reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist. He smiled, indulgent and helpless. Jessica, are you really jealous of a cat? He opened his photo album to show me pictures of Snowy. Don't you remember? This kitten was born at the university when you left. We even fed her together. You heartless girl, you left us a widowed father and his orphan. And now you're asking who this child is? Evan's lips curved into a smile as he held my wrist. His warm touch felt like a secure, unbreakable shackle. Babe, why don't you try to trust me a bit more? Did you really think I didn't know you initially approached me for that land reclamation permit? I was completely stunned, unable to give any reaction. My body and brain seemed disconnected, and I could only lift my head and stare at him blankly, traces of tears still visible in my eyes. Evan let out an almost inaudible sigh, took a wet wipe, and gently cleaned the tears from my face. The documents were left there waiting for you to take them, he said. Who knew you'd be so decisive, taking the approval and running away? Leaving even me behind? Now that I've finally caught you, shouldn't I keep you here? And there's this. He opened his phone and showed me another photo. The photo was of me at 7 years old. In the image, I was standing there, blind from a high fever. And beside me was... I widened my eyes. The person standing next to me, supporting my frail, blind form. The one who had led me out of that hellish place, was Evan. I stood frozen in place, my mind completely blank. Evan, why was it you? I stammered. Wasn't it Marvin Ward who saved me? Evan pulled me onto his lap, gently stroking my back with slow, soothing motions. It was me, he said. After we got out of that valley, I was taken back to the Webb family. When I woke up and tried to find you, there was no one left at the hospital. I searched for you for a long time. Until finally, in that third-year university lecture, I found you again. Suddenly, I remembered those scars on your back. On his tanned, muscular back were old scars. So it was him who had used his back to shield me from the traffickers' whips when we were children. Tears fell from my eyes, dropping one by one onto the back of his hand. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Evan's eyes were deep and intense. Like stars twinkling in the quiet night sky, all their light focused on me. Because I wanted you to love me, he said. Not out of gratitude or obligation, but unconditionally, simply because you love me. Evan stood by the floor-to-ceiling window. Sunlight pouring in unobstructed, gilding his eyelashes with a fuzzy golden edge. He carried the scent of sunlight, woody cologne, and love. He smiled tenderly. They say loving someone is like tending to a flower. To nurture a flower named Jessica Burton requires lots and lots of love. Fortunately, I have lots and lots of love to give. If you haven't felt my love, if you felt insecure, then that's my fault. He took out a pair of wedding rings and looked at me earnestly. I had these rings custom made. They had tracking devices inside, working both ways. I can always watch over you, and you can always watch over me. I've come 99 steps toward you. Will you take one step toward me? Jessica, will you marry me? Gentle arms embraced me. His chest was firm, and with my face pressed against it, I could clearly hear his steady, strong heartbeat. It transmitted through our skin, gradually synchronizing with my own heartbeat. As if telling me that from this moment on, someone would always stand firmly by my side. My lips trembled slightly, my throat tight, tears threatening to spill from my eyes. I reached out to him and choked out, "Yes, I will." I took that one step toward him. Stepping out of the shadows and finally standing in the warm, embracing sunlight. For days after putting on the ring, I've been curiously fiddling with it. It's like a miniature smart bracelet that connects to my phone. It monitors the real-time distance between Evan and me, our heart rates, mood indices, and has a safety alarm system, all packed into this tiny ring. Evan sits beside me. What are you looking at? I'm checking your heart rate. The numbers in the phone app keep jumping up and down. I notice that when Evan looks at me, his heart beats so fast. Feeling mischievous, I move closer, sitting on his lap, and give him a quick kiss. Evan's heart rate shoots up to 130. I pull back after just one kiss, head down, continuing my fascinated investigation. Oh my, your heart's racing. And your mood indicators show you're happy, excited, and aroused. Evan narrows his eyes dangerously. Want to see it go even higher? He grips my wrist, his tie wrapping around and around. Like a predator's prelude to the hunt, he smiles. Babe, shall we be a bit naughty tonight? In front of the mirror. It's a full-length mirror. The surface wide and smooth, like a tranquil lake, faithfully reflecting everything before it. My voice grows hoarse from crying. I can't bear to look, turning my head away. But Evan grips my chin, forcing me to look back. His breath whispers against my ear. Look in the mirror, see the love in your eyes. And see how much I love you too. That night, Evan's and my heart rates peaked at 160. Finally, curled up in Evan's arms, our heart rates slowly returned to normal thump, 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 resonating together like drums in a symphony, intertwining into a peaceful dream. I rest against his firm, muscular chest, my lips curving upward, breathing in his pleasant woody scent. From now on, I doubt I'll ever have trouble sleeping again. A month later, I finally returned to Orange and Fruit Brasserie. The assistants and waiters were overjoyed, using sign language to communicate with me. Jessica, where have you been all this time? So many wonderful things have happened. It was then that I discovered that Evan's investment in the restaurant had been made in my name. I was listed as the sole beneficiary. He had completely renovated the restaurant, bringing in a renowned French chef. He even helped establish connections with top-tier ingredient suppliers, ensuring the restaurant received fresh produce daily via air freight. He also arranged for a famous fashion photographer to shoot promotional materials. When it came to hiring staff, he respected my wishes and continued to provide employment opportunities for people with disabilities. Wave after wave of investment brought the finest ingredients, premium service, and top-tier marketing. In just 6 months, Orange and Fruit Brasserie had become the capital's most renowned and profitable restaurant. Customers couldn't stop praising the food, and regular patrons kept coming back. My condition has improved significantly lately. I haven't suffered from insomnia or anxiety for a long time, and I no longer need to see my therapist. Evan has tied a safety rope around me, helping me find more anchors in life. It's not just his unconditional love for me, but also friendship, family bonds, and the sense of achievement from being recognized and accepted in my chosen field. Evan noticed a new piece of artwork on the wall with a French quote. I walked to his side, intertwining my fingers with his. It's from my favorite book, a line of poetry that describes the kind of love I've always wanted. Evan smiled, gently gripping my wrist. Have you found it? I gazed at him, lost in thought. Time's river flowed forcefully, and I stood on its bank, slowly walking back through my memories. When I was 7, I lost my sight due to a high fever, was abandoned by my parents, and then kidnapped. In that dilapidated warehouse, meals were irregular, and I became so thin my bones protruded. Evan held me close, whispering in my ear. I stole a mandarin orange from their table. Try it, it's sweet. My world was pitch black, with only the citrus fragrance reaching my nose. At 20, I was planning to catch Evan's attention, my mind full of possible scenarios. What should I say? Ask to borrow his notes? Or go watch his football match tomorrow? It was during an elective course on foreign literature studies. An elegant elderly professor was speaking eloquently about oranges are not the only fruit. She read softly, her voice rich and measured. I want someone to love me fiercely till death. To understand that love is as strong as death. I unconsciously looked up, staring at the professor on the podium. A powerful vibration spread from deep within my chest. Like tiny drumbeats, tapping my heart, striking against the cage of my ribs. And forever. Stand by my side. Time rushed past, bringing me back to 25, the present. In my favorite restaurant, pursuing my beloved career. Standing beside my favorite person. In this world, having one or two certainties is enough to counter life's uncertainties. Evan turned to look at me. Sunlight fell into his eyes, making his brown irises appear lighter. Like amber. Like honey. Like a lake tinted by sunset. Like a puppy's clear eyes. Reflecting only me. So I smiled too. Tears nearly fell. I said. I found it long, long ago.